There we go. So what I was just talking about is just a recap of our overview. So why it's important to me to share this, why it's not your fault, why it's important to you, why you keep going back and what's causing it, how you want to feel, what your intentions are, and then action steps to put it into action. But you notice that I start with like digging into what you're doing first, and that is really the key. So let me share with you a little bit. And if you don't have your coffee and water, make sure to get that. And then I'll just be watching the chat box for questions. So why this is important to me. So ever since I can remember, how did I learn to use food as a numbing mechanism? Well, I was rewarded with food. And so anytime I did good in sports or school, like we always got to go out and we always got to eat ice cream, and my family was very supportive, but they used food as a way to give us kudos. And so this is something that I want you to think about. If any of your moms are out there, are you using food to reward your children? And if you can, try to pull back away from that and think of other things that you can reward them with. Family time, connection, activities are like really key. So we would always go to ice cream. My mom would even do this thing called backwards dinner. And what I know now, or what I think now, I actually just was thinking of this morning, so I want to ask her, is I think those times we had backwards dinner was actually a time when she was having an emotional response and she wanted ice cream, but she had us kids, so it was like she was treating us to backwards dinner, but it was really for her to come out. So I've been doing that ever since I was little. And that's why it's important to me to share this, because I've been able to actually work through this. And now I don't, like you guys saw that whole like Cheetos picture of me eating the Cheetos. Well, like newsflash, I didn't actually eat the Cheetos, but I just wanted to get you in here because this is like so important, and I want to teach you all my tools and tricks and everything. So that's why it's important to me, because I have been there. I've been the one secretly hiding food. I felt it wasn't guilt. Like a lot of people say that there's like a guilt cycle. For me, it was shame. And shame is a little bit different than guilt, because shame is like this intensely painful feeling or experience when we're believing that we're actually flawed in some way. And therefore, because we believe we're flawed in some way, why do I keep eating this? Why do I keep doing this? Then we are not worthy of love or belonging. And so I know that's like kind of a big picture thing here, but I really want you to think about that, because for me, it was a constant shame cycle. I would hide the food that I was eating, and then I would feel shame, and then I would numb it out, and then I would go to the internet or whatever, or magazines. This was a while ago. I would look at the next best diet. Over the weekend, I would get the food, and I would buy it, and I would get the workouts, and I would set the plan for the week. And then ultimately, sometime during the week, usually on the weekend, I would do the same thing again, and so much shame around it. And it really, that definition of shame that I gave you, really think about it, because we are worthy, but these little things, we just need to be able to work through them. And so I have a quote from Brene Brown that I wanted to read you in regards to kind of working through our shame and sharing where we're at. So that's why we're in this group, because it's a safe place that you can actually share what you're feeling, because you may not feel safe sharing with someone in your immediate circle right now. So owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love, belonging, and joy, the experiences that make us most vulnerable. Only when you're brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. So if you think about that and think about like my backstory that I just shared a little bit of, I was always running from it. I was always thinking like, well, can't someone tell me the best exercise, the best supplement, the best food, the best whatever, the best diet, how to do it so I can do it, so I can finally achieve this certain body, because I thought it was going to give me a certain feeling of loving and belonging in a certain way. So comment in the chat box. Oh, Michelle already said yes, shame. Yep, so comment in the chat box if you can relate to my story, if you're currently feeling it, or if you felt it in the past. And to be honest, some of us may have never thought of it in this way. It took me a long time to think of it in this way, and actually to work through it, because I was always just pushing it down, covering it up, and trying that next best diet, workout, supplement, whatever, in order to get through it. Guilty hiding eating, yes, I know. So let me dive into the workbook a little bit, and if everybody has that. So I just want to go over the page on why it's not your fault. So I'm going to pull that up really quick. And again, this might be something that you haven't actually thought of before. So, and I want you to really shift your thinking around food, around being in the pantry. So if you think about it, our world, we have access to food 24/7. And most of the food that we have access to, if you think about it, even right now, like think about right now, we are in this never before, like we've never experienced something like this with the coronavirus, with the quarantine. But you know what? Like I think about what's open here in Colorado Springs: restaurants, bars, liquor stores, all of that is open. Fast food is open. Every pickup you can go. You can even go to a bar and get alcohol drinks. Those things are open. So we have access to this food. And I don't want you to think about like food is necessarily bad or good, but just think about the food that the food industry is giving us. Most of the prepackaged and fast food is highly palatable, which means it like tastes super good because of the sugar and the fat and the salt that they put in there. Like the food industry actually pays scientists to develop things that they can add to food to make it more addictive to us. And so we buy it and eat it more. So if we love those Cheetos like I had in the picture, yeah, there's ingredients in there to make it more addictive. So what is that a result of? All of these foods are usually high in sugar and fat, which increases insulin in our body and leads us to want more of the same and leads us to feeling like we're hungry all of the time. So that's the one problem. Like the food industry is huge. Like that is so big and we need to recognize that. Like they are not our friend. Couple that with having an emotional experience like we're having right now, like fear, uncertainty, anxiety, and then access to all of these foods. And if we've not worked through and put in the work to uncover why we are emotionally eating, well, we're just going to keep hitting the pantry. We're going to get that immediate dopamine hit, which is our feel-good hormone. We're going to feel good in the moment, but then we're going to go immediately back into the shame cycle. And then the shame cycle is we're not speaking it out loud to other people. We're holding it inside and we're not feeling good enough and feeling like we constantly need to change something about ourselves. The other thing that we can succumb to is society. So we often find ourselves like riding the excuse train with other people. That's so weird to eat that way. Why would I bring food with me? Why would I cook food? But I love all that shitty, crappy food. That sounds like too much work. I don't want to be on a diet. Why would I eat that? That's crazy. I don't want to be different than other people. Well, what am I going to eat when I eat out, when everybody's eating all that crappy food? So here's the thing. A lot of that processed, highly processed food has zero nutritional value. And it is your choice. You are making a choice the foods that you put in your body. I know you like them and they taste good. And it often helps in the moment with your emotion. But what is that costing you? Because this magic combination of shitty foods and unexpressed emotions and everything that you're just pushing down is just resulting in you doing it over and over, feeling like shit, gaining weight, and not taking the time to get out of this never-ending cycle. So that's what we're going to do today. We are doing that. So what I want you to do is get in your workbook. And if you don't have your workbook, just get a piece of paper. You can look on the screen here. And I want you to dig into this. So answer these two questions. Why is this important to me? And if your first thought is because I want to lose weight, like I want you to dig in a little bit deeper. Think about like, what has this cost you? What does this cost you on an emotional level? What does this cost you on a business or career level? What does this cost you on a relationship level? Let me tell you some of the things of how it's cost me. In the past, I held myself back because this shame cycle that I was in, I didn't think I was worthy enough, and I didn't push myself to do the things I was being called to do. And so I didn't take advantage of opportunities that were presented to me. And I led a very mediocre life that was very unfulfilling. The other thing that it did is I was so freaking worried about my body in this shame cycle that even with this amazing man that I love, our relationship suffered because I didn't feel comfortable with my body. And so we couldn't express ourselves sexually like we wanted to, like we should, because of my own fear, my own doubt. And then the next thing is like, how do you want to feel daily? And this is really important because often we just get on like this treadmill of life and we're just like going through life and we're just doing all the things, crossing off the checklist, getting all the accomplishments, getting all the achievements. And we don't actually ask ourselves like, how do we want to feel? And then moving on to the next page, and if I'm going too fast, just pop it into the chat box there, which I wonder if I can check that while we're doing this. Yeah, a couple people were saying like, I didn't realize this until I heard of it, like shame. So, and someone asked if you want to answer now or on your own. So here's the thing, here's why I gave us like a whole hour, is because I want you to get some initial thoughts at least down. And then I want you to ask yourself what else is true. Because if we say like, this is important to me because I want to lose weight, well, why do you want to lose weight? What else is true? What is the feelings underneath that? Because if you just stay surface level, you're going to keep looking just for that next answer, that next diet, that next workout, and you're going to keep hitting the pantry. So you really have to dig in. I want to feel healthy and I want to live and see my great-grandchildren and feel good. That's so awesome. And that's what it's all about. Like when I think about that question of how I want to feel every day, everything I do is centered around my focus on wanting to feel good. And there's, believe me, there's a lot. So someone wants to feel MacBook Pro, wants to feel playful, creative, and kind. I know I will be the most successful in life if I start with me and my health. Hell yeah. I was always saying I'm fine and then I eat to hide my emotions. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so now when we think about like when I really feel good or when I really feel bad. So I really feel good when I'm eating nourishing foods, when I'm eating mindful. And so I want to clarify, like, everyone always says, what's the best diet? Yesterday, I was on a Facebook Live and they asked like, well, what do you think about the blood type diet? And it's funny, anytime you put the word this, whatever the word is in front of diet, I'm just gonna like kind of diet shame it. Like there shouldn't be a one size fits all for everyone. There's this idea of bio-individuality. So inside of us, our makeup, our hormones, our genetics, we're all different. So what I do is gonna look a little bit different from you, and you will not know what foods make you feel good until you keep track of them, until you are mindful of them. And so what I recommend for everybody is just making a note of this. If you've never done this before, make a note of how you're feeling. So if you're unsure of when you feel really good and when you feel really bad, the only thing is you know you feel bad when you're in that shame cycle, eating the candy and the shit, like that's when you feel bad. But figure out when you feel good and what makes you feel good. So every day I cook vegetables, and I'm going to teach you this at the end, protein, carbohydrates, healthy fat, and I eat that. And I eat it in abundance so I'm full and satisfied and I'm not thinking about food all day, because thinking about food all day is the worst. Okay, so let's go to the next page here, if it will go. Okay, so here is where I want you to comment in the chat box and we'll have a little chat about this. So what do you believe to be true around food? And I mean like not what you think you believe, like what you think I want you to say, but what do you believe to be true? So I've worked with thousands of women around nutrition and mindset coaching. And the thing that always comes back is everyone thinks if they eat too much that they're going to gain weight, they're going to gain body fat. The other one that's really big is eating too late at night. Another one is eating carbohydrates. Like, carbohydrates are not necessarily bad. They're good. That's our main energy source. Yeah, Jennifer says, like, food is fuel. And it is fuel. But let me tell you, like, this is the work. Like, the work that we need to do is to get to a point where we're using food as fuel and not as a way to numb out. And if we don't do the work, then we're just going to keep in the same cycle. And if we want to really live a joyful, meaningful, connected life, then we have to dig into this. And it's not always easy. So I've been talking a lot about, like, it's not fast, fun, and easy. Making changes in your life are not always going to be fast, fun, and easy, but society tells us that it is. That when we hit that wall and it's not fast, fun, or easy, like, we give up. And that's just not the case. So this work is uncomfortable, and it's a practice that I'm going to teach you these tools and techniques. But the thing is like, you have to stay in the work. You just can't do it right now when it's convenient or as needed. You need to do it consistently, because most people do it like right now. You have time as needed, like, oh, I gained 10 pounds, I'm going to do it as needed. Or when it's convenient, like, you need to do it consistently. All of these things, self-awareness and radical responsibility, should be done consistently in your life. Okay, let's look at some of the food beliefs here. Food is absolutely a cure if you do your research and help us not poison. Yeah. Food's the key to everything, right? So most people start with food last because they have so much shame and guilt and wrong food knowledge, so beliefs around food. So if I eat less, I'll lose weight and feel better. I used to think this. Now I know it's not true. So true. So true. So oftentimes, most women, a lot of women that come to me are highly, highly under eating. And because and it's not under eating, it's undernourishing their body. So they're undernourishing their body consistently, which leads to hitting the pantry, which leads to binges of whatever level, however you describe that. And so it's about consistently eating food and nourishing your body. I believe that if you consume more food than my body can burn, I'll gain weight. I also believe that if I'm stressed, my body won't do what it's supposed to do. So yes, and sugar is bad. So all of these things are things that you believe around food. So the first thing I want to tell you is, like, stress and sleep are major factors on your body. They do affect your hormones. And if for some reason you are on a fat loss goal right now, which I want to tell you is 100% fine. If you want to lose weight and get healthier in your life, that's fine. But just don't tie it to your self-worth, because you are worthy right now and where you're at today. And if you want to work on getting better on areas of your life, do it. Go for it. Do you, and that's totally fine. And so Michelle says sugar is bad. So I want to reframe that to white, refined, processed sugar is one of the biggest reasons that we're so addicted to food. That's my vice, is sugar. Sugar. I was addicted to sugar for a really long time, and it's really easy for me to slip back into that. I have to be super mindful if I do choose to eat sugar. But natural sugar, like if you have it in fruit, like that's great. Or I love sweet potatoes. There's sugar in that. So that's great too. Okay, what do I believe to be true around food? And you can go back to this. I really want you to sit after this. And my goal, anytime you're at one of my in-person events, workshops, online, anything, is that you actually have a takeaway and you take action. And it doesn't have to be a huge action. It's just the next right step, because without taking action, knowledge does you no good, right? It's great to learn, but you need to really put it into action. All right, so let's move forward here. Okay, so the one thing that I know that helped me was to understand what was happening in my body, around me, or in my environment when I'm hitting the pantry. What was I thinking? How was I reacting to other people? What was happening in my life when I'm doing this? This is really important to know because, again, if we are becoming more self-aware, we can recognize when this is coming up for us. And then we can say, I am no longer available for this. And then we can think about, like, you know, there were so many times in my life when I was not being honest with myself. When I was saying, and so many women come to me with this, well, I'm doing all the right exercise and I'm eating all the right food and I'm doing all the journaling, I'm doing all the things, and I just don't understand why it's not working and why I can't lose weight. Anybody ever feel that way? Like, let me know in the chat box if you felt that way. So many women feel that way. And so when we dig into that, it's actually like, we're actually not being honest with ourselves. And if you can actually start keeping commitments to yourself, that builds confidence, that builds self-awareness. It's really, really awesome. So when would I hit the pantry the most? And I have a really fun story to share with you here, which when I was ready to finally let go of the shame cycle. So when the kids were growing up, Joel, my husband, he worked graveyard and I worked days. And so he would do like this split sleeping thing. So he would get the kids off to school and then he'd go to sleep and then he'd wake up when the kids got home and then we'd have dinner together and then he'd go back to sleep and the kids would go to sleep and then he'd leave for work around like 11. And so that was my prime opportunity to, if I was wanting to do any emotional eating, he was sleeping, the kids were asleep, I could do that. So I would say the biggest time when I would have emotional eating, it wasn't because of the things that were happening around me. It was because of my not being confident with myself and being so fucking hard on myself and judging myself on every little thing that I did, that I would get into this cycle of I am not good enough. And it could have been something small. Maybe at work that day, I was on a conference call and I said something and someone reacted a certain way. So then in my head, I immediately thought, oh, that was so stupid. Why did I say that? I'm in this huge, big like leadership position and I'm like criticizing myself all the time. So then I would bring that home, I'd be in kind of a bad mood, and then Joel would say something, and then it would just trigger that again. Well, he doesn't think I'm good enough to do X, Y, Z. That judgment cycle of myself was the number one way why I would hit the pantry. Because I didn't feel good enough in my body, in my skin, I would hit the pantry. So I remember the day, so I explained to you like the dinner situation. The kids were sleeping, Joel was sleeping, and so I'm like, fuck this bullshit. I'm going to Dairy Queen. I'm going to Dairy Queen and I'm getting one of those big ass, like I don't want a milkshake because I actually like to eat it. Like I like to feel the process of eating it. So I'm going to Dairy Queen. I'm getting that big ass ice cream and it's going to have the chocolate sauce and the candy on it. I'm going to feel so good. Get in our Tahoe. I drive over there. What the fuck? And this line is like huge. Like everybody must be emotionally eating these ice creams tonight, right? Because like Dairy Queen ice cream, like lard, like you don't even want to know what's in that saucer. Anyway, so I get home and I go to get out of the Tahoe. Like I'm actually patient. I'm not eating it in the car because I want to have this full on experience because I know that it's going to instantly like make me feel better. Because again, it goes back to our hormones, that dopamine hit. Just like when you post something on social media and you see someone like it or comment. Social media is built for multitude of dopamine hits. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. So I get home, I go to get out of the Tahoe, and I shut the door, and I fucking drop the entire ice cream. I drop it, and it doesn't land pretty. It's upside down. It's all over the driveway. I instantly break out crying. I am bawling. We are not even talking about like, oh, that sucks. I am just like bawling, crying. Obviously, based on what I told you, like it's not because of the fucking ice cream. It's because I am not feeling worthy of myself at all. And I just don't know what to do about it. I have all these unexpressed emotions that I'm not talking about. That was the day I said, fuck this. Like I have to do something about this. So to stop the shame cycle, to start that process, the next day at dinner, I told my family what happened. And so the kids just thought it was like a funny story. You know, they were at that age, I think like grade school and middle school. But Joel was like, kind of like, whoa, that's weird. Like, okay, like I didn't really know you had that issue because I hid it from everybody. You know, I would hide like candy wrappers and that sort of thing. And so by me saying it out loud, what I did, what happened, and how I cried afterwards, it was like this immediate release. Like I didn't actually think like, why was I feeling that way or anything? It was just like me not hiding that anymore. And so that's one of the techniques that I'm going to share with you is speaking it out loud. So here I want you to think about when you are numbing out, why are you hitting the pantry? What are you no longer available? In that moment, I was like, I am no longer available to hold on to this story. I'm no longer available to hold on to this secret. Now, did I just immediately get fixed and not do it anymore? No, but I knew that I could talk about it now. And by talking about it, changed the fucking game. It made it easier to work in my shit. And you need to figure out where you're not being honest with yourself, because I wasn't honest with myself. I'd be like, oh, I'm doing all the right things. Fuck no, I'm not. I'm like eating some of the kids' candy. I'm doing all these other things, having bites and nibbles and things like that. And I'm doing really good all week. Then I'm going and drinking alcohol on the weekend and having some shitty French fries, all of that stuff. So look at where you're not being honest with yourself, because you're not doing anyone else a disservice except for yourself. So let me check the chat box before we move forward here. Alrighty. Emotional eater, yeah. I feel like shit when I get the shits. So true, right? So if you're not used to eating like high fat or high sugar foods, yeah, you're gonna get fucking diarrhea. Good luck with that one. So that could be like on your list of like how it makes you feel bad as a reminder, because this workbook, this shit that you're writing down right now, you are gonna save this and you are gonna use it and use it and use it and practice it until you actually like get good at this. I'm anxious at this time because sheltering in place that I should be doing more to help others. Yep. After that, I get down on doing that. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things right now, let's just talk a little bit about like the shelter in place. I'm not sure if everybody's at shelter in place like status. I think so, but I'm not sure. I don't really watch the news that much, but even before in Colorado, it was shelter in place. I felt like we were already doing like the shelter in place things, like only going to the store, try to go like once a week, staying away from people in the park, not going anywhere. So here's what I say to the person that talked about they should be doing more for others is now is the time to dig in to your own worthiness. Now is the time to dig in and uncover and learn a little bit more about yourself. Because if you are not feeling good enough, because you're not doing for others, because right now is an opportunity not to be able to do for others really, like then you need to figure out what's going on there. That's a big thing, because in my past life, I sourced my self-worth from accomplishments, but if any of us are mothers on here, a lot of us can be sourcing our self-worth from doing for others, like getting that acknowledgement, helping others. That's a dopamine hit. Oh, I'm so good. I'm so good. But we're not actually focusing on what's happening with us and who we are as an individual and how fucking special and unique we all are. Because we all are, we just cover it up with layers of shitty stories and experiences, but really nothing in life has meaning until you place meaning on it. I'm gonna say that again. Nothing in life has meaning until you place meaning on it. And when you place meaning on it, it's based on past experiences, based on the stories that you're telling yourself. So what if you started letting go of those? What if over the next week, and I know this is a sidetrack from food, but all of this shit like works together, you are never gonna be able to stay out of the pantry if you don't do the mindset work and dig into yourself. So what if over the next week, we just wrote down all of our low level thoughts, our low energy thoughts, our negative thoughts, and we wrote down where we thought that story came from. This is the work. Now is the time. I know for me, I'm being called to show up and show up big for everybody. That's why I'm doing all of this free stuff. That's why I'm being guided to help all of you. But all of us, and even me in particular too, we're being called to slow the fuck down, change how we live. So when we come out of this, we together as a collective have more love and kindness, first for ourselves, then for our loved ones who we often put off, who we often don't treat the best that are closest to us, and then for the collective as a whole. And if we do that work, we will all be forever changed. That was a rant. Okay, now let's get back to staying the fuck out of the pantry. Okay, I'm an emotional eater. Yeah, so a couple of people like have talked about like following a plan. And that good, so plans are fine and good. They give you guidance. I want you to use meal plans, recipes, books, that sort of thing as guidance, but you really need to check in with yourself and see what feels good in your body. Because if you are on or off the plan, that is basically that shame cycle again. And if we say we'll just be better tomorrow, well, it's not going to happen because you're just going to do the same thing tomorrow. So you really need to dig into this work. It's all or nothing. I messed on my plan, so I better eat whatever. So here's the thing. I'm not saying to never have ice cream, to never have pizza, to never have a hamburger, to never have those things. But like, let me give you this example, right? Like, so you know that you should brush and floss your teeth every day for great oral hygiene. But like, if you were to skip it one day, tell me in the chat box what would happen if you didn't brush your teeth one day. Fucking nothing. Your breath would just smell like shit and you'd have extra plaque. Then the next day you'd brush and floss your teeth. You'd probably overdo it and maybe actually injure your gums. This is a really good analogy here if you can relate. And they might bleed, and then you might start getting some receding gums. But then after that, you just get right back to brushing and flossing your teeth every day. That's how it is with nutrition. If you choose to have a big plate of maybe pasta, something that's higher fat, higher sugar, and you have it in like a portion size and fucking enjoy it, and then just get right back to eating regular foods that nourish your body. Snacks and all the nibbles, all or nothing too. Yeah, I suffer from gluten intolerance, IBS, diverticulitis. I always have to make mindful choices or it's a trip to the hospital. Yeah, so I've worked with hundreds of women that have these types of issues, Crohn's or Crohn's-like diseases, other autoimmune inflammatory diseases. And the thing is, if you start eating more and eating more of the right thing, because doctors, like on Crohn's, they tell you to eat the shittiest food. And so like you can actually eat like real whole foods and cook and figure out what works for your body, and it works. Lynn says, slow the fuck down. Yep, you got to slow the fuck down and check in with yourself every single day. And I want you to think about like, not only during this like shelter in place quarantine time, like how can you build these rituals into your life on an everyday basis? What if you were more mindful and intentional every single day? You'd be hitting the pantry less. I haven't brushed my teeth yet today. Oh, well, you're fucked. No, just kidding. Oh, is that you, Mom? Keeping it real. I brushed and floss. And pro tip on flossing, don't wait till nighttime to floss. No one's gonna fucking do that shit. Brush and floss your teeth in the morning, and I promise you, you will get it done more often. All right, everything in the morning, you'll get it done more often. Oh, someone's doing adult coloring. I like that. I haven't had a flare up since August. That's so awesome, Sarah. What are you doing? Okay, so let us know what you're doing and we will start moving on to the next thing. Okay, we talked about this a little bit already and I'll let you fill this out on your own. So what do you want in your life and how does your nutrition support that? So I think it was Jennifer that said, like, I feel and show up more confidently in my life and I'm more successful in my business when I take care of my health and me first. So I 100% agree with that. So right now, when we are doing shelter in place, I am so focused on my health, like 110%, I'm adding in extra things because I know as a speaker on stage that I want to feel a certain way and I need to be able to feel a certain way to be able to radiate light, to be able to impact masses. And I'm going to be called to do that on a big way when this is done because there's going to be so many events that have been postponed or scheduled. And so that's what I want, and nutrition supports me 100% in that. To be able to show up and serve, to be able to show up for me, for my relationship with my husband, so I can feel sexy as fuck and we actually want to have sex and not like be hiding about it, and for all of the amazing women that I serve. And on a daily basis, I just want to focus on feeling good. So my intentions for health this year is just consistency. No sways, no ups and downs. If I have the sweet potato fries one day, that's great. The very next meal is a healthy meal. All right. So now steps into action. I'm going to check the chat box again really quick to see if there's anything. So this is where I want you to, so there's been a couple of chats in the chat box. I want you to stop thinking about food as good or bad food. I want you to think about, is it nourishing my body and is it making me feel good? And does it feel good to me? So for me, I was eating a lot of eggs and then all of a sudden I had gas, like the worst gas every single day. And so I did a food intolerance test and eggs were like super high on it. So I had to cut out eggs. I fucking love eggs. If you know me, I love a breakfast salad like nobody's business. And so now after, oh gosh, it's been, I think like 4 months of not having eggs, I'm having like 1 egg a day. And I don't have gas, and it's like a mini miracle. And so figure out what foods like work for you. You know, if you want to have a Girl Scout cookie, eat the Girl Scout cookie, but just be super mindful not to eat the whole box. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. So the steps to put all of this of what we talked about into action is get super self-aware. And then you already started that process with the workbook, but go back to the workbook. Dive in. What is happening in your life? What is happening in your thoughts? Where is this coming from? You know, I had to really dig in and realize that when I was growing up, we used food as a reward. And so that's where I learned that food would make me feel good. The next thing is the hardest thing. And I want you to tell me in the chat box, and it's okay if you're not ready yet, but share your shit out loud. When you can get out of the shame cycle and actually say it out loud, because if you look at the women that are on this group, so I had like over 50 people sign up for this free masterclass. So, and not all of them are going to join. That's why I'm recording it so I can send it to them. But like, we are not alone. We are in this together. And the more that we can share and the more that we can be vulnerable, like vulnerability is the most magical part of our human existence because it just breaks down barriers. We realize we are not alone. We realize we are worthy and everybody has shit, so share it and get it out. The next thing I want you to do is gain knowledge, and don't just gain knowledge, but use it. So I want everybody to actually implement something, whatever that next right step for them is in their life once you leave this masterclass today. It's so important. If you just put it to the side and say, oh, nope, I'm just gonna like look up the next best diet or workout thing or follow this person on social media and they'll tell me exactly what to do and I'll do exactly what they're gonna do, you're gonna perpetuate that never-ending shame cycle. And it's just gonna keep going. So I'm just letting you know that right now. So you wanna gain knowledge and you want to use it, and good knowledge too. Yep, someone's trying to get pregnant and eating healthy helps 1,000%. And so like dig into that deeper. Trying to get pregnant, eating healthy helps. Having a healthy body to grow a baby, which is a miracle in there. And then being healthy enough, like super healthy when the baby is born to feel so good and experience it all. And then to be able, as they grow, to do all the things that you want to do with them. Like really dig into that. And then you need to start listening to your body. If you don't listen to your body, you're not going to know what works for you. And the number one question I get is, what is the best, like fill in the blank, food for fat loss, best for digestion, to detox my liver, to whatever your thing is, like what is the best food or supplement or whatever. The best thing like is you already know the answer, and you need to start believing in yourself, and you need to start trusting your intuition and your inner knowing because you already know. And the thing that dulls that inner knowing and that intuition 110% is the need for certainty, which right now everybody is reaching for the need for certainty because there's so much uncertainty with everything, with our health, with our finances, with our communities, with the health of our loved ones, with everything. And here's what I know to be true. That if we focus more on faith than fear and just keep going and take that next right step, whatever that means for us, like this is all gonna work out. It doesn't mean that it's not hard, but again, Like growth and change in life, change as individuals in our families, in our communities, as a collective is never going to happen if we think everything is fast, fun, or easy. This gift of this shitty situation with the shelter in place has been given to us for a reason, and we all need to step up and use it. And maybe that's serving others, but maybe that's digging deeper into our own shit so we can uncover what we need to uncover. So then when this is over, we can really do what we're being called to do, what we're meant to do, what we want to do with the goals in our lives. Okay, so once you start listening to your body and you gain knowledge and you start using it, then I want you to do what's called collecting evidence and saving it. So let's say you do choose to have pizza with your family, and you have 2 slices and you have a salad with it. It's so good, you enjoy it. And then the next day you just go back to eating your regular healthy meal that you really love and enjoy, and you don't feel bad about it. You're not in the shame cycle. You need to write that down. Write that down in a little food journal. Yesterday I ate pizza. It was fun to do that with my family. It tasted good. I don't need any more today, and I didn't have to overeat sugary stuff afterwards, because that's what would happen to me. Like, I'd eat one bad thing and I'd be like, fuck it, let's just eat for days, you know. That was bad. For me anyways, it felt bad. So write it down and collect evidence, and then go back to the first step is being super self-aware. And I will tell you a couple of things that could perpetuate this shame cycle is having really, really strong food rules about things you can or can't eat, unless for some reason it's detrimental to your health. But if you have things that you can or can't eat, I will tell you, I am a master. I am a pro, because so I have autoimmune disease. I have MS. So I eat gluten, dairy, and refined sugar-free and soy-free every single day of my life. So if I want brownies, you better believe I'm going to make brownies, but I'm going to make them my way. So don't just like cut it out, but figure it out. Gain knowledge, find ways to make those things. The next thing is building and asking for social support. So what do I mean by social support? The thing that I've learned is if you are looking for your partner, your spouse, who you're in a relationship with or closest with, talk to all the time, to be your 100% social support, it's not going to work. It's 110% not going to work. So they are there for a certain reason, but you need other social support around you where you feel comfortable to share, where you feel comfortable to be vulnerable. And maybe in your little circle that you have, no one has ever stepped out and was the first one to be vulnerable. So what if you did like a little Zoom like this and said, all right, let's share our shit. If you follow me on social media, you know I'm doing Share Your Shit Sunday. So anything that's come up for me during the week, I'm just going to share that with everybody, because I want everybody to know, like, we are one. We are more the same than different. And if we can realize all of these things and start sharing as a collective, then you'll be less and less hitting the pantry and more feeling good, because again, getting out of the shame cycle really means that we are worthy of being loved, belonging, right? So let's see what a couple people are saying here. Yesterday I ate pizza and I felt bad a little, but yes, I don't plan. I enjoy it, went for a run. Yeah, so again, like, so think of my stupid brushing your teeth analogy. Anytime like you do choose to have something, know that you are making the choice. So I want to go back to like the first page, why it's not your fault. We're choosing to eat it. If we choose it, stop judging yourself, accept it, and really enjoy it. On the next page, I'm going to give you some more tips for that. But just don't judge yourself. Know that everything you do is a choice, and you have to take radical responsibility for all your choices, which includes not judging yourself if you do choose to eat a so-called maybe off-plan or bad food. If we can start getting away from that and just think of foods as like nourishing our body is the way to go. On most days, I take a breath, step back, laughing, and make better choices. On those days, I let myself have a small amount of whatever. Yep, positive mindset. Yeah, I love that. So seeking social support, there's a resource page, and I have a collective, a Facebook group. It's called the Female All-In Collective. And in there, I post a shit ton of stuff that you can do for social support and people interact. So I encourage you to join that. It's free. And then you want to develop healthy rituals in a healthy environment. So for me, That looks like knowing if there are certain foods that maybe I shouldn't have in the house while I'm going through this process. If you know me, I do competitive bodybuilding. And so I know after I've done a show, I've been on a really strict calorie restricted diet that is not the norm, where you get really super lean. And I know that all peanut butter products or almond butter or anything like that needs to be out of the house, because I'll just eat it out of the jar. And I know that. And so figure out your things. If you need to get rid of some food, when I was first starting this, the kids were home, so we did have some more snacks and treats and stuff like that. So I would purposely buy the snacks and treats that they liked that I didn't like. And people are like, well, you should be able to stop yourself. It's like, no, this is shit that I'm working through. Like, that's what I need to do right now in my environment in order to make this work. It's like abstinence from alcohol or whatever, if you're an alcoholic. So the other thing is, in your environment, ask for help and ask for support from what you need. So if you're struggling, like I would tell the kids or tell Joel like what I need, like, hey, we're gonna have this barbecue. I know I normally make this, but I feel like I'm just gonna eat it all, so I'm not gonna make it this time, I'm gonna make this instead. And ask for what you need. A healthy ritual that I highly recommend is developing a morning ritual. We are most connected to God, higher power, spirit, whatever it is, into ourselves in the morning when we wake up. So if you can be very intentional with that, like you're going to receive guidance, you're going to be able to move through your day with more flow and alignment and ease. And so developing healthy rituals, and I'll give you a resource for that at the end too. So let me check the chat box real quick. We're getting towards the end here. Okay, everybody's just talking to everybody. I love this group too. So fun. Thank you for being here. Okay, so what works for almost everyone, but not all of these work for everybody. So you can pick and choose things that work for you. And this is what it goes back to, listening to your body. So I'm just going to run through this list really quick, and then we'll do a little bit more Q&A, and then resources, and we'll go from there. So plant-based eating, not vegan, but maybe. So what the fuck does that mean? That means that, and there is a resource at the end called the Make Your Plate Guide. That means when you're eating, I want you to focus on eating mainly plants, right? So half your plate should be veggies. Then a good source of lean protein, a little bit of healthy fat, and some non-processed carbohydrates. That's how I eat. That's how I recommend to make my plate. And now, what do you fill in those spots? Whatever feels good to you. Whatever you like. And here's the thing, like, don't, I did a live video yesterday, and was talking about food that you can make from your pantry. Use seasoning, flavor your food. When we try to eat just boring, bland chicken, broccoli, and rice and like choke that down as part of a meal plan to try and look a certain way, that just goes back to, I want to have this body so I can be worthy of X, Y, Z. Like, we want to cut that out. We want to eat more of the right things, because when you eat more of the right things, if you use that Make Your Plate Guide, like, your plate's going to be big. You're going to sit down to eat it and you're going to feel satiated. Satiated means actually full. Like, do you ever go to eat and you've been white knuckling it all day long? So you eat and then you feel like you're in an endless pit and you just want to eat more and more and more. Like, that's what we want to get out of. The other thing I recommend for some people, just depending, is fasting, but especially for women. You hear of men like doing intermittent fasting all the time and hitting the bulletproof coffee the first thing, which is coffee with a high amount of fat in it, like MCT oil or coconut oil. I do not recommend that for any women. Women's bodies are more sensitive. We need more nourishment more often. You may see results at first, but your body is gonna you're gonna have some hormonal responses. So fasting, so what do I mean by that? Well, let's say you sleep for 8 hours. Well, you've just fasted for 8 hours. So let's say you end your last meal at 7 and then you eat your first meal after 7 a.m. That's 12 hours. So why is this important? So a couple of things happen. One, it gives our bodies time to actually digest and assimilate nutrients. So when we're constantly eating all the time, our body doesn't get to switch into the rest and digest mode. So you hear all the time about people being in their sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. or parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest, relax, and digest system, right? So if you think about your digestive system and we're constantly feeding it all day long, no matter if it's healthy food or not, it's going to be harder for us to assimilate the nutrients, which basically means get the health out of the food that we're needing and use it for good, because we're constantly in that fight or flight state within our digestive system. So it gives it a break. Our cells can actually like heal themselves and recover when we do this. So if you don't, and 12 hours is not like the magic key, you know what I mean? But I would suggest like having a little bit of time in between meals. And if you use that Make Your Plate guide to do it, you won't have to worry about having food. Guess where snacks came from? Anybody know? The food industry. The food industry tells us we have to have fucking snacks because they want to make more money because they're not our friend. Give me all the 100-calorie snack packs. Fuck that. Make filling meals that you love. Okay, the other thing is eating consistently. So again, I already touched on this earlier, but oftentimes we're not eating consistently nourishing foods, not eating enough. And so when you consistently eat enough, your body comes back to, so when we're not eating enough, when we're white knuckling it, when we're going through these times of under eating and then overeating, all this crappy food that has no nutritional value, what happens is our body just creates excess inflammation, hormonal responses. So the easiest way to change that, it's not the next supplement, it's not doing another diet, it's just cooking and eating real food using my Make Your Plate guide and doing it consistently over time, and your body will come back to homeostasis. Homeostasis is basically like balance, where all the magic happens and you start feeling good. So I just touched on the next one too, eating real food and cooking at home. Hey, cooking at home is pretty easy right now, right? A lot of us are cooking at home. And real food, how I define that is like single ingredient food. That's real food. So when you look at a label and it's rice, that's real food. If you look at broccoli and it's just broccoli, that's real food. What's not real food is when you go to the freezer section, because a lot of us are stocking up the freezer right now, and you're like, oh, this is broccoli. And then you turn it over and it has all these additives added to it because the flavor's already added to it for you. You can season your own frozen broccoli that is just one ingredient yourself, and you don't have to have all that addictive gross shit. So FYI on that. Next thing is there is water in here. Make water your primary beverage. This is 1,000% for everyone. If you want to make a shift, if you take nothing else away, make water your primary beverage. Start the day with 12 ounces of water every single day before you have anything else. Because like I shared, you're fasting overnight, which means you're also hydrated. So what do you do if you have coffee? You just dehydrate yourself more. Talk about having shits if you ate and hit the pantry the night before. There you go. That's not going to feel good. You can write that down on your paper on what feels bad. Switch to bitter instead of sweet. This was a tough one for me to learn because I was addicted to sugar. That's how I grew up, loving sugar, getting the dopamine hits. So, and everything has sugar in it. If you look at ingredients in your pantry, the food industry adds that because it's addictive. They know that, so we'll buy more. We have an actual response in our body to sugar, just like doing drugs, again, that gives us that euphoric feeling that we are all addicted to, or most of us anyways. So if you can start switching to bitter instead of sweet, that's going to be huge for you. The easiest way I think to do that is to get some sort of probiotic food like kimchi or sauerkraut and start eating it a little bit. Just a couple of tablespoons with your meal or putting it on there, and start switching your taste buds. Start, instead of putting fruit in your water, if you're doing infused water, put citrus in there and see where you can switch that over. And so what happens when you do this is when you eat something that has natural sugar like fruit, like you're just like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever eaten. It's so sweet. Whereas when you're so accustomed to eating refined white sugar all the time, you won't have that. Okay, mindful eating. Here are my go-to tips with this. This is something that you can do right away with your next meal. I know I'm going to eat after this. Actually, I might go outside and walk and then eat. But okay, first things first, follow my Make Your Plate guide. When you sit down, I want you to use this new mantra. I love my food and my food loves me. And you're probably thinking like, that sounds so stupid. No, like right in that moment, you're making yourself more present, because I don't want you to have your phone, your computer, the TV. You are present with your food, because I want you to be there and use all of your senses. This will help you with not overeating and really feeling and understanding and eating the food. So I love food, and my food loves me, and I love my food. And just take a deep breath. Really chew. Take time to chew your food. So oftentimes, especially as busy, ambitious women, like most of my clients are, like most of you are, like we are eating on the go. One, we're not going to assimilate the nutrients because we're in that fight or flight state. And two, we're not going to realize that we are full. So taking your time to really eat the food, taste it in your mouth, smell it, bring in all your senses. When you can bring in all your senses, then that's when you know that you're present. So that is the tip for eating your meals. When you go to hit the cupboard, this is what I want you to do. And I'm going to give you an example that I did this last night. So I don't know why. I was just, Joel had went to bed early, and I was finishing watching a movie. Oh my God, Trainwreck with Amy Schumer. Can we say, like, that's the funniest shit ever? Anyway, so I was finishing watching that, and I just kept thinking about these Bob's Red Mill bars that I have in the cupboard. Now, here's what I want you to hear about this. I don't necessarily think that's a junk food. Like, I think that's an okay, like food to eat. Like, I think that's fine. That's good. Like, it's a good food that will nourish my body. All I could think about was the Bob's Red Mill bars. And I even got up, I got something to drink, I got some tea. That's a tip if you fill your stomach with something warm. Sometimes that can help. And so I went to the cupboard. I had that Bob's Red Mill bar in my hand. Then there was this little jar of, what kind of sauce is it? I can't even think of the name of the sauce. Anyway, little jar, and it fell and it almost hit my foot. And it was the catalyst to make me stop myself and go, 90 seconds. This is the rule. You have 90 seconds to think about, halt yourself and think about, are you hungry, angry, lonely, tired? What is happening in your body right now? Are you actually hungry? The answer to that was no. I was not hungry. I didn't need to eat that Bob's Red Mill bar. And I'm giving you this example because oftentimes we could just like be over consuming food that is quote unquote like healthy food. I wasn't hungry. Was I angry or upset about something? And I was kind of thinking like, I don't know, something just feels like wrong, but you know, I felt like really in flow all day. Nothing was bad. Lonely. You know, when I stopped there, I was like, you know what, like I am fucking obsessed with in-person connections, and my whole business model this year was built up on like my workshops, my events, speaking at other events, and like doing shit in person, and I am not doing that. So I had to check myself, and I'm like, yeah, I am feeling just kind of tired and like lonely for not in-person connection. And so after that, I put back the Bob's Red Mill bar. I didn't eat it. And so what I did instead was like, what is something that I can do that I can connect more with myself? So I turned on YouTube and I did a yoga nidra meditation, which is a laying down meditation. You can Google it and find one. And I did that, and then I was able to go to bed. And so for me, that was like calming. So I was going to use that bar to be like soothe myself and like calm myself. But instead I did something instead that actually did that. All because that stupid jar fell, which made me think like, what are you doing? Wait your 90 seconds, use your 90-second rule, use HALT, understand what's happening in your body, and go from there. And then the last thing on this page is allow freedom occasionally that's portioned. Like a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm gonna have this epic cheat meal. It is not a cheat meal. Like, don't do that. These are all choices that we are making. And the choices either nourish us or don't nourish us. And I want to say, like Jennifer had posted about like having pizza with her family. She didn't overdo it, and she had a glass of wine, and she got right back to her healthy habits the next day. Like I would say that was nourishing to her soul to experience that with her children. So I want you to think about that too. Okay, so we'll do resources and then Q&A because I am 1 minute over and I am like a time Nazi. So I want to just go over some mantras that you can use. If you are starting a morning ritual, or maybe you're using my HALT and you want to like tell yourself something positive, these are all really great things. So my body is a gift. I am imperfect and enough. So that's the work right there. Like, we are all imperfect, but we're also enough at the same time, and that is okay. I choose to do things that make me feel good. So if you're getting stressed or pressure, just eat the cupcake. You know, like, why aren't you eating it? That happened to me at first a lot, because I was eating differently than everybody else. You could just have just one. And I would tell them, actually, I'm focusing on eating foods that make me feel good. Who's going to say, well, that's stupid? I deserve to be healthy and take care of myself. I'm open to seeing my body in a more loving way. I nourish my body with healthy food and healthy thoughts. Self-love and nourishments are opportunities, not obligations. Okay, so here's your resources, and all you have to do is click on these in order to view them. So the How to Make Your Plate guide, you can join my free Facebook group. I'm always posting in there. We're always chatting. I am offering right now, if you want more real food recipes, you can click this 30 days free recipes and shopping list for my clean eating transformation. There's no strings attached. You can cancel anytime before the 30 days. You don't get charged anything. You'll get a weekly meal plan, which you don't have to follow. You can just use the really amazing recipes that come with it. The next thing is, I'm super excited. If you've been following me, you've noticed that my husband and I have been doing some stuff together. We've been doing these couples sound baths. And so what we've recognized is partners, spouses, couples, families, just relationships as a whole are more together than they ever have been before. And the feelings that have been coming up for people are anxiety, irritation, annoyed, a little bit of resentment. And if you're like, I've never felt that about my partner, I'm gonna call like BS on that. Even I felt that sometimes, but we can communicate through it. And so we're doing a couples 14-day totally free challenge. So you can do it by yourself. You can sign up even if your spouse isn't on board, and each day you could tell him or her like what you're doing. And it's one thing to do each day that you can focus on to get well, be well, and stay well. And it'll be super fun. We're also going to do free sound baths. We're going to do coffee chat Q&A about couples and a lot of fun stuff, totally free. So do that if you want to do that. And then the last thing is, I've opened up 10 spots of my coaching and based on your budget. So basically, if you want that, click the link there, do the application. We'll do a little personalized Zoom call like this. You'll tell me your budget and we will work with it. Because right now is the time when we have the time to dig in and do this work. So, and then if you have any questions after this, if you think of something, if you go back to this and think of something, just email me because I'm always available for you. So I'm going to open up to questions and look in the chat box. So if you have any questions on any of those free resources, let me see. Let me go back here. Peanut butter every part of my day, but I make it part of my plan. Yeah, I have peanut butter every day. Right now I really like having chia pudding. I posted a recipe yesterday for that, but chia seeds are so amazing. They, one, help with moving things through if you have any issue with that, but they're full of omega fatty acids that are really good for you and a little bit of protein. So good, I love it. Here's what I do, plant-based, no process. So the only thing I would challenge people on when they're putting in food rules like that, I don't eat processed food and I only eat plant-based. Like, is that sustainable for you? Are you able to do that for the rest of your life and it feels good and it's nourishing to you? If those answers are yes, go for it. If those answers are, well, once or twice a week I find myself XYZ, I want you to relook at that. We need to chat. Morning routine, yes. I've lost 65 pounds going low carb and my period is regular. That's so exciting, and hoping to get pregnant soon. I'm trying to fast. I heard it improves fertility and egg quality. So I think anytime that you do anything that's a healthy shift for your life, like, that's going to be good. So if you're trying to fast, I just want to make sure that you're not continuing to fast once you get pregnant, because you're putting it out there, you're doing all the right things. I want you to know, like, don't hold so tight to getting pregnant. Let go of that, put that out to God, the universe, spirit, whatever you believe in, and just start like taking those small actions to get there. Like moving your body, having sex with your significant other, or whatever means you're using to get pregnant, nourishing your body, reducing stress, getting sleep. If you're not getting sleep right now, like, sleep is so important. Okay, one of the big benefits of whole stay at home is actually having meals with my family. I love that. That was one thing we always did. You know how I explained I work days and Joel worked nights? We always came together as a family and had dinner, and it's so cool. Like our kids are 18 and 23 now, and our son's already graduated college. He lives in the Dallas area, and we'll talk about, he uses real food to cook. He actually knows how to cook. Not very many people of his generation actually know how to cook, so that's so awesome. Slowing down. Do you like keto? So Michelle, can you ask a little bit more about what we would be saying I like keto for or not? So again, any specific diet that cuts out one certain thing, I'm not a huge proponent of that. I'm a huge proponent of figuring out what works best for you by listening to your body and being self-aware and making choices based on what you've discovered and the evidence that you've collected for your own body. And guess what? It's not fast, fun, or easy. It's a practice. If you do it, it works. But nobody wants to do it because it's work. Because it's not the instant pill to take to lose all the weight or to be healthier to get all the things. But that's what works. So ask a little bit more about keto. I'll give you a little bit more. You nailed it. Please send us the resume. Yep, I will send everybody the Zoom call. Thank you so much. Okay, so here are my thoughts on keto. Again, a woman's body is really sensitive. So when we think about like how our cycles work, men's bodies work on a 24-hour cycle. Women's bodies, as we know, work on a 28-day cycle. And if you need to jump off now, please do. I'll just finish answering these questions. But take advantage of the free resources. I want to see everybody in that free couples 14-day challenge. And if you don't have a significant other, get your bestie to join or just join by yourself because it'll be fun. So women's bodies work on a 28-day cycle. So have you ever like stayed up and hung out with friends and, you know, your male significant other did the same thing too and maybe ate and drank and stuff, and the next day you feel like fucking dog shit. And he's like, all right, what are we doing today? That's because male bodies work a little bit different than our bodies do. They're set up for more stress in that way, and we are not. And so when it comes to keto, I believe, so here's the thing about keto, and it's so hard. So keto was developed in a hospital setting and meant for specific people with certain illnesses under a physician's care. So most of the time what happens with keto is people think they look online and see all these amazing pictures of all this bacon and cheese and all this stuff that you can eat if you're on keto, immediately think, that instant dopamine hit, that's going to be fun, fast, and easy. I'm going to do that. I had one client that I allowed to do keto because she was so insistent on it, and she did have a few autoimmune conditions. That's the only time I'd really use keto, only for a short amount of time, and then go back to eating a whole balanced meal. So I had one client that I allowed to do that, and she got her first set of recipes, and she was basically like, what the fuck is this? Like, I see people online eating all of this, and that. Like, no, real true keto is using real food and cooking it and eating it. And it does not include a shit ton of processed meats and cheese and all that garbage. That's what I like to call like dirty keto. So if you're thinking you want to do keto because it looks fast, fun, and easy, I say that's not the choice for you. And the way that I'm talking about eating, I've not had a person that it doesn't work for. And the way I'm talking about being and living and being self-aware and radical responsibility, like if you start here with this, like it's not going to be perfect. You're still going to hit the pantry sometimes, but now the thing that you have is you can reflect back on it. And you can understand what was happening in your brain, in your environment around you, so you can make a different choice because it's all about choices. We all have choices. So the one thing that I want to share with you again is just the end of this quote, because I really want to encourage all of you, if you are in that shame cycle, you're so welcome, Michelle, for answering that, is like we have to get out of it. We have to start speaking it out loud. So if you want to speak it out loud to me, I'm definitely available to do that because I know sometimes we're in fear of judgment of the people that are closest to us. Isn't that weird? That we can't tell them like our struggles. Owning our own story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love, belonging, and joy. The experiences that make us the most vulnerable. Only when we're brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. So I want each of you to discover the infinite power of your light. I've discovered that, and like I shared, I focus on feeling good every single day, and it's not perfect, and I'm not perfect, and things still come up as I've shared. But now I have the self-awareness and the tools and resources and the belief in my fucking self that I am worthy no matter what. And I want you to know that you can all have that too. And it starts with digging in. So get self-aware, and I can't wait to connect with you more. Hey, tomorrow we are doing, if you haven't seen, if you're into sound bath meditation, Joel and I are doing a free sound bath meditation, so you can jump in that too. Let me know. Shoot me an email if you want the details for that. Any last questions while we wrap up? I'm digging in. I love that. Oh, you're so welcome, Crystal. So I just want to say that this fills my heart. Like I can tearing up a little bit right now doing this work. Like this year I was not really focused on nutrition stuff, but I was so called to bring this to you guys, and doing this work I know is so helpful for you, and this just fills my heart. So thank you. I'm grateful for each of you for being here, and please utilize these resources. We have the time right now to utilize them, so do it. Reach out. We're in this together. We are all one. Start sharing your shit and work these practices because they work. I love it. You guys are all fucking awesome too. Okay, see you tomorrow at the sound bath if you're joining, or see you in the 14-day challenge, or just email me. We'll Zoom. All right. I will see you all later. Thanks for joining me.